feel like we have so much to talk about. You guys are doing so many things, you know, and I love when I meet people in the industry and they have a bunch of stuff going on. It sounds like you're always growing. So obviously with you, it's I assume it started with tattooing, right?
No, it started way before.
Okay.
So I started tattooing at 23.
Okay.
But I've been working with art before, way before.
Right.
I started painting when I was a little kid because my mom is a painter. So
Nice.
I would say that my path started in a very early age. And then I started I did an art school and I started doing body painting when I was 17 and working in theater for body painting and special effects.
Nice. And this is in Italy?
This was in Italy, in Sardinia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from Sardinia. So I was working with art. I was painting. I would pay my first rents when I was 19, 20 with painting. So I would do exhibitions and I would sell my paintings. And then I was working as freelancer for music videos, for shows.
It's okay. He's telling me to talk.
Okay.
Not me, that guy.
And then I will do, live body painting shows for clubs or for artistic events. And then my first tattoo conventions were actually not as tattoo artist, but as performer. And then
cool.
for exhibit paintings. Then
and this is how you were making a living at a young
Yes.
age? Nice.
And then I was working in theater for about 5 years. And in the meantime, I started tattooing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you like just kind of traveling, doing whatever? Was it all the time, or was it like more organized? Like I have this event this weekend. Does that make sense?
Yes, it was more organized.
Okay.
I started traveling a lot actually right after I started tattooing.
Okay.
So before, I moved out of Sardinia when I was 19, 20. I lived for a year in London and I was still painting. And then I went back to Sardinia for a little bit and I was working in theater and doing all these events. And
What
then
did you do in theater?
I was doing special effects and makeup.
Okay, cool.
Uh-huh.
And that like, did you think, hey, I might do this as a career for the
Yes,
rest of
I
my
did.
life?
So before tattooing, I was actually thinking to probably get into movies and do special effects for movies.
Yeah.
So that was the choice. That's why when I started tattooing, for probably a good year, I didn't know if it was gonna become my career because I was already for a while into body painting and makeup and special effects, and I had to choose if I wanted to continue with that, in which I was already good, and experienced, or if I wanted to start from scratch with tattooing. And then, we know how it went.
Yeah. How did tattooing come into the picture?
I started to get tattooed.
Okay.
And then the tattoo artist, which was tattooing me, offered like a couple of tattoo artists. They were like, why don't you try to tattoo? Because you're already very experienced in a bunch of different techniques and you might enjoy it. So then I was like, okay, let's give it a shot.
And then what point were you like, okay, I'm going to be a tattoo artist?
It just came natural, I
Yeah.
would say. So I started doing a few tattoos, and because my name was already known there
Right.
in Sardinia, a bunch of people will ask me to get tattooed. So I made my experience. And as I said, for 1 year, I wasn't sure about it.
Yeah.
But then I liked that I was challenging myself. It will give me a very different feeling to work on people in a different way. It was permanent. So it will give me in the beginning a kind of boost of adrenaline.
Yeah, and then especially with like the makeup and all that, you're putting all this time and effort for it only to be like gone the next day, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So it was very different, and I think I liked also the fact that I was learning something new, something very difficult, and especially because I couldn't get any apprenticeship. Because even though in the beginning I was told, oh, you might enjoy it because you're already very talented doing a lot of other things. On the other hand, no one was willing to teach me because it was back in Sardinia, 13 years ago, and I was a woman.
Yeah.
The industry was kind of sexist still back then.
So just because of that, they're like, oh, you're a chick, I'm not apprenticing you?
Yeah, so I was tattooing at home for a while. Then I will go and work in the tattoo shops and go and get tattoos in order to, watch and ask tips. So this was my kind of apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Just, like studying it on my skin.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And then what's your background? Where did it start for you? Wall Street?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Ireland.
Yeah.
In the north of Ireland, so couldn't wait to get the fuck out of there, get out of there, and long time ago, 87.
Was it just because you were raised there, like natural? I want to get the fuck out of there. Or was there stuff
You
going
know,
on?
I grew up in the north of Ireland, which was a really depressing place. You know, obviously you can go Google the history. You know, it was basically a civil war going on. Went to London. When I worked for a bank, and I told Diamante, asked me how I met my wife. This is a good one.
Okay, I'm ready.
I love that show.
She was my boss.
Oh, nice.
But I'd left the bank when I started dating her. But I had like, I like to say my life's full of aha moments, some good, some bad. I walked onto the trading floor in the bank, and I'm like it was just crazy. And I'm like,
this is in London?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, I can do this shit. This is what I need. And then I became, and for the next 15 years, that's what I did. Got to 2000, was fired because I was getting old.
Yeah.
Our industry changed a lot.
Yeah.
Computerization came
Yeah.
along, you know, basically people trading by pressing buttons, which we'll get to later. And I feel that there's disruption happening in our own industry, which I love.
Because when you started, they were calling in on the tickets, or?
Dude, I was on a floor with 700 people,
Yeah.
phones, microphones. You were screaming out to your banks. The banks were screaming back at you.
Cigarettes? You smoke inside?
Oh, yeah. One in the mouth, one in the ashtray. Yeah.
Was it fun?
Um,
Because it sounds fun.
It sounds like a movie.
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street.
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun
Right.
because, you know, I was at my desk at 6:45 in the morning. You know, that fucking bell rang at 7:00. Mayhem. It was like being on an interstate where the traffic was going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But it was controlled chaos.
Right.
So it was. And you would like scream at people, your friends.
Yeah.
I mean, and I would take the eye out of your head and come back and piss in the hole to get that trade.
Yeah.
In a nice way.
Right. Like as friends. Yeah.
You know? And then at 4:00, phones down, tickets done, bar.
Yeah.
Till maybe 4:00 the next morning. Hence, well, I won't even go there. But,
Yeah.
you know, it was a lot of fun. I got out of that. I made a decision. I didn't want to go back. That's when my journey began as an entrepreneur, I suppose. I briefly had I interviewed actually for a company called Cantor Fitzgerald, who were the top floor in the World Trade Center. It didn't happen, thank goodness. You know, lost a lot of friends in that day.
Yeah.
I started a construction business, and it's really funny. Like, I believe I like to say I'm just an average fucking person who can form relationships. That's what I do. You know, I can walk in a room, shake your hand, and get to know you. And if there's something that we can sort of like do together, we'll make it happen. You know, my construction business went down the toilet in 2009 after the crash, but because I was responsible for my business, I didn't run it well.
Yeah.
So pretty much lost everything, and I mean everything. Thank God my wife is still with me.
So not everything.
Didn't lose her.
And then I've been getting tattooed from the mid '90s.
Yeah.
The guy who tattooed my first sleeve, he said, "Hey, why don't you open another one of my shops?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds like a fucking good idea."
Yeah.
I did it. I went to my first convention about a year later. Aha moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? This is fucking crazy. And then my journey began. You know, I opened Inkology with my partner in 2015 with the concept of a guest artist tattoo studio.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was like, I feel I was like an early adopter back then. It was something really cool. It's 10 years later, or 9.5 years later. the world's changed. You know, I started diversifying after that. I did a lot of O1 visas. I like to say that I did my first one in 2012. I like to be, and I think you might appreciate this, John. If you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
I might get burnt.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like, you don't even want people to say that because you're like, oh, now I have to fucking do it. I don't even want to do it.
Yeah.
Now I have
Totally
to.
like that.
Yeah.
Like, don't say.
Yeah.
I sort of,
I never even thought about doing that.
Yeah.
And now I have
Yeah.
to.
And now it's in my fucking brain.
Right.
You won't
It's
fly
there.
to the moon. Your boy's
You know?
great.
And I'm
Was
the
your
sort of
wife
person.
Was your wife supported when you told her about going to the tattoo industry?
You know, it was at a time when there was, you know, my wife works in the financial world, hence that's why I met her. At that time, she worked for a big hedge fund which had just imploded. Nothing implodes. It implodes for a fucking reason.
Right.
But we won't go there. And we were just sort of trying to manage getting back on our feet. Does she like tattoo? Yes, she does. No, she doesn't. Like every time I have two. I don't have two young kids. I have a 30-year-old and a 28-year-old.
Babies. Okay. Yeah. Young.
They're my kids.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, of course.
So like it took my wife 25 years to allow me to do that.
Right.
So that gives you
Your
an
hand
idea.
tattoos.
Oh yes, sorry,
not
sorry.
hit her.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. That's how close we are.
fuck me. Hand tattoos.
Yeah.
Took me this long.
She doesn't have any tattoos, right?
She has one.
She has one. What does she have?
A tramp stamp.
Classic.
Well,
Flowers.
if you're gonna have one.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So every time I get tattooed, she'd be like, you know, Tarantino, they're gonna want to get, and they have lots of tattoos.
Yeah.
Like actually, Diamante's tattooing my son's knees at the moment. Nice. So it's sort of she's gotten to a point where it's just sort of who I am. It's who my kids are. It's, you know, she doesn't. It's not that she dislikes them. I think for a long time she just struggled with, you know, especially my son. Like my son got his first tattoo when he was like 16, maybe something like that, and my daughter as well. And I think she just sort of like, you know, she comes from a very safe environment, a very corporate environment, but she's definitely gotten used to it.
Yeah.
Gotten used to it. Yeah. So we're okay on that front.
Right.
And you know, I mean, so, you know, fast forward, I opened my first visa agency.
Yeah.
We do some of that. You know, at that point, I'm meeting a lot of the elite tattoo artists. I did a lot of traveling. You know, I knew I got into the industry as like an outsider.
Yeah.
And, you know, I firmly believe that if you enter something, you've got to prove yourself. Yeah. You know, I spent the first 5 years just traveling. You know, I went to London for the first time, Barcelona, you know, the bigger events. I traveled to Asia. You know, and over the years, I've sort of pretty much traveled everywhere. And then 2018, 19, I was like, okay, the other agency had sort of stopped. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do this, you know. And I have an awesome business partner, Katie, who Diamante knows. And I'm the talker. I'm the meet and greet guy.
Yeah.
You know, I sort of like talk to everybody. Katie's the fucking meat and potatoes. Like she is.
Like the back end.
Oh.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Nice.
She's amazing.
There you go. You know, and it's, you know, it keeps me sort of like, you know, she also keeps me in check, you know, as to what I'm up to. So we started Global Tattooer. Obviously, it has a direct filter into all of my businesses.
Sure.
We are a visa agency. And what that really means is that, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, another thing I learned was artists don't just want to come to one studio. So I developed it where they could go to multiple studios. And it just makes it really easy for them. I make it easy for them. Of course, if they want to work in oncology, that's fantastic. We prepare all the visas. I have in-house counsel, so a lawyer who oversees and signs off and everything. He's not a partner within that business because, you know, that's not a thing that you can do. But he is our counsel, and we take everything from him. He also, when the artists come, they do their O1, and then they generally lean into their EB1 green card, and he takes care of all of that. And then 6 months ago, we started talking. And I love her product. I was involved in another product in the tattoo industry, which was a cream, and quite a stress. No, I shouldn't say stressful. It was something I stopped doing, and I decided I had a little bit of PTSD from it, and I sort of said,
like PTSD from products.
Yeah.
The tattoo products.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just swore off them. It was a bit like stopping smoking.
Yeah.
You know, but then Diamante obviously works in my studio in LA. You know, she's an amazing tattoo artist. She's an amazing business person. And she then, you know, she was like, hey, I'm going to stay in the US. And we talked about her product, which she will tell you a little bit more about, minimal ethical tattoo supply, you know, compostable plastics within the tattoo industry. And we sort of have a same ethos together, you know, not trying to save the world, but doing our piece to just make it better.
To create a positive impact.
Yes. Mm-hmm. There's our mission statement.
What's the mission statement?
To create a positive impact.
Nice. And when did that start?
I had the first idea in, I would say 2018. I joined my friends Roberto Trupiano, the Island Tattoo Connection. It was a completely new event for the tattoo industry because it wasn't a tattoo convention. It was more a kind of charity event, which he funded completely in order to help the island, in this case Bali, for the plastic pollution. Yeah. So what he did was renting a resort and invited 70 tattoo artists to work there to raise money through tattooing and painting to donate for charity. And I was already very sensitive for the environment, and I was already doing my best, you know, in my private life with not using much of disposable plastic and using eco-friendly products. And during that event, I would say that I started noticing way more what all the plastic we use in the tattoo industry. Because, you know, especially like it's something that we use on a daily basis for covering all our surfaces and equipment, even just like the ink caps. We even found ink caps. I never told you this. We even found like ink
You're holding back from me? Come on, we're business partners.
So while the event, we were doing some activities, even like a beach cleaning. And in the beach cleaning, we found plastic ink caps at the beach in Bali. And then I was like, right, this thing, like, you know, you expect to find, you know, plastic cutlery and like
drinks,
everything, you know. But then I was like, wow, there's like so much tattoo trash there. Yeah. So then I was like, right,
moment.
Yeah, and then I was like, you know, we work to create beauty, and we shouldn't forget this beauty connected to our planet. You know, like we do, especially how I live. Tattooing, it's especially creating a connection with the clients. And then I was like, I don't want to forget that connection with our planet. And I don't want to feel bad every day when I'm cleaning up my tattoo session after, you know, being happy because I've been tattooing and I've been doing what I love during the day. Then, you know, my heart is painful because I'm cleaning up my session and I'm throwing so much trash, like plastic trash. So then I decided to create a line of biodegradable products. It was tough in the beginning because, as I said, so it was 2018. It took me about 2 years to develop the products because, you know, I was studying the materials, finding some manufacturers, then testing the products, making them better, having other artists testing them, and then COVID hit. Yeah. So then, I financed the product, the company in the beginning completely by myself. I couldn't ask because of COVID any loan credits from the banks, nothing. So then I had to postpone the launch till the end of 2021.